My daughter asked me today, "Are you still recording the podcast?"
We're like, it's the off season. It's the off
Off
season.
season. We're on a break.
Welcome to My God a Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, my co-host John Powell and I catch up on what we've been doing this off season. Then we spend the rest of our time answering questions from you, our listeners. Thanks to everyone who reached out with what they wanted to hear us talk about. I think you'll enjoy it. As always, remember you can follow us on social media at My God a Podcast. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, 5 stars obviously, and review the show. If you leave us a review, you just might hear it on an upcoming episode. Now, let's join the conversation in progress.
Have you done any prep for this, or like what's the outline?
So I started prepping, and then like the first thing that I jotted down kind of went into one of Bobby's questions. And so then I like was kind of like wanting to segue into that, and then I just started like writing down all the listener questions. And so that's how I came, and I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff in here. We got so many questions off
We
of
have
the
so
tweet.
many stuff. Yeah,
we got so much stuff in the tweet. I was like, we could just talk about this.
Thank you to the listeners.
Yeah. So, I mean, I jotted down a couple other things. Actually, one high level thing, like, do we want to talk about basketball at all? I wrote down basketball ? I mean, NCAA tournament's going on. We're
Basketball. What is
like,
it?
Yeah. I'm trying to think, because like last time, so our last episode.
Hey, listen. Will the last basketball player please turn the lights on when they leave? You know what I mean?
Holy
Like
cow.
on their way out. Can you please just shut the lights off?
Yeah, I know. Seriously.
Apparently, we're trying to save money on our program, so we can't afford to keep the lights on.
Right. So I don't know. Okay, so maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see how long we go, and we can maybe have time for basketball. But I don't know. I thought we could just kind of start off like I don't know. What have you been up
to? Well, for me, it's been a lot of bourboning. I've kind of delved into the bourbons a good bit more lately, as far as like things that have occupied my time.
And you've discovered dog bourbon Twitter.
I've discovered dog bourbon Twitter is deep and awesome. Yeah, I had a chance to meet up with some folks, connected with some guys that I didn't even realize were into it. So it's been fun to take the conversation from Twitter offline as well to a certain extent and get a little bit more personal touch with the folks that we interact with a good bit on Twitter. I think I had mentioned in one of the podcasts before, but I lost a bunch of weight during this whole situation. But I started doing boot camps. So I get up at 5:30 in the morning, or 5 o'clock in the morning, and work out at 5:30, 3 days a week with my son, Master Chief, with a group called F3 over in West Cobb. So if anybody's in the area, come out and join us. Give me a DM. It's fun. It's a solid group of guys.
Nice. Yeah, I actually have lost a little weight myself, and then I've become one of the weird Peloton people.
You're a weird Peloton person. You and Logan can log your rides. I bet you've ridden more than I have.
I don't even know. I probably I go back and forth as to how much I do it or not. But right now I'm in it. Yeah, I don't know. I actually try to ride. I probably ride 6 days a week, I'd say, on it.
That's way more than I do.
Yeah, but I do like varying lengths depending on what else I do. So, because also in the pandemic, I created a home gym. So I kind of mix between, like, I will work out, I'll like lift weights and then do a shorter ride, or I won't lift weights and I'll do a longer ride. So whatever. I don't know. It's fun.
We need to see some pictures of this. I didn't know you had built a gym.
Oh, the home gym?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I already.
It's not the Chuck Norris home gym, is it?
No, although like we totally watched that infomercial this weekend. Like we've we moved our TV. We changed our TV setup at our house also during this, and we have like no peripherals hooked up to our TV anymore. Like it's just the TV, and then we have an antenna plugged straight into it, and then we've got like all the apps to the TV or whatever. So like sometimes in the morning, I'll just turn on the TV like on the antenna, and I start browsing like what's on the guide through like the channels we get through the air, and like on the weekends you can get some pretty hilarious stuff going on. Lots of Saved by the Bell reruns, for example. Things like that. But yeah, there's the Chuck Norris infomercial was on. I was like, oh man, we could have just got that. That would have been a lot easier than like all the stuff I did.
I just remember like that thing was like, I don't know, he was like basically lying down on an incline, like jumping up and down, and like this is how you'll look like Chuck Norris by like jumping up and down on this Chuck Norris home gym.
It's still some sort of thing on an incline, and Kim was like, I mean, like people like watching this don't realize like you probably have to have like crazy core strength to do this stuff that he's doing on there, but who knows? But yeah, that's what's going on. And then like I was in the Twitter bracket that I don't really know exactly how that happened, but that happened. That was a thing. That was a thing.
Yeah, we had a fake Twitter bracket.
Yeah, so all I'll say about that is I lived up to my seeding. So I was an 8 seed, whatever that means. And I beat the 9 seed and lost to the 1 seed in my region. So there was that.
and apparently, like we put people on there that were fans of other teams. Like
yeah, and then they won, but like because they bought votes, which I'm not really sure what that means. I don't know if that's like there's all kinds of controversy. So
stop the steal, Jim. Stop the steal. All right.
I don't know if that means like they promoted the tweet.
Of course they did.
Or did they pay people to vote in the poll? I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. Okay. Anyways, I don't know. You got any other random musings, things that have been going on for you?
No, I mean, my wife's business has been doing really well with photography, so I've been helping her manage that. We're talking about expanding.
Very nice. I mean, if anyone's in the Marietta area, needs
if anyone's in the Marietta,
photo
Atlanta
session
area,
done.
Yeah, newborns. Yeah. She's been doing a lot of Corona babies lately.
This episode is brought to you by Lindsay Powell Photography.
For all your photography needs. Joyful, fresh, natural.
Awesome. Well, I mean, the first thing I had, we were talking about like, what did we do or prep or anything? And I mean, the biggest story I had was just the loss of George Pickens, right? I mean, so that definitely rocked Bulldog Nation, was all over Twitter last week when that happened. I know, like, I read it and texted you. I'm like freaking out. And then
you were the news drop for me because I was like, what?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I've seen so many things online around, how big of a loss it is. We are deep there, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like you can't understate how big of a loss it is for the team. I mean, like, yes, we're deep at wide receiver, but I mean, he is our best receiver. So it definitely hurts. We don't have anyone else on the roster with his combination of everything, right? Yeah. I mean, he was, and especially late last year, right? And I know, like, early in the year, we were kind of blown away with like, holy cow, where does Kyrus Jackson come from? And like he was like the leading receiver, but when JT Daniels came into the picture, we saw that change with Pickens, and we saw what we had seen towards the tail end of his freshman year,
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you lose one of your most electric playmakers, particularly when JT Daniels was starting to be the quarterback towards the end of the season, that's a big loss. I mean, I tell you what was helpful was Graham Coffey posted a thread of like all the reasons to not like overreact about it just yet, because there was just a lot of the ability for Monken to get wide receivers open, like just in a split second without no spring, with limited activities and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, the quarterback situation was in flux basically the entire season. So what he was able to do and accomplish with the scheming on the wide receivers side of things was really remarkable because as has been documented ad nauseum, we had guys open left and right. All we needed was someone to throw the ball to. So if you are a person that can catch the ball, run at decent speed, and get open and listen to the things that Todd Monken tells you to do, then you're going to potentially put yourself into a position to have a great success through the air at the University of Georgia. So, in my opinion, I agree with Graham. I agree that there's obviously it sucks. Obviously, it's terrible. It certainly puts a ding on the somewhat of the expectations, but the potential is still very much there.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this to you was if that means that Jermaine Burton gets more opportunities, then that's gravy for me. Um, if it means that someone else gets an opportunity to step up, we have guys on the team that are more than capable of filling the gap. It's kind of like Bama when Waddle went down. It was kind of the next man up, and Devontae Smith basically took over. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. Yeah, no, and I'll make sure to retweet out that thread. It was good, and I know it had like it. He talked through it, and then he had videos to show, the concepts that he was talking through with some videos. I think Dog Stats had put together. That was good, and that did make me feel better. And I know like that's like when we were kind of back and forth texting, and you tagged me in that. And you're like, you said it was like chicken soup for my soul or something like that.
It was chicken soup for the panicky UGA soul.
Right. Which panicky. I mean, like what? Me munsoning? Like what? I mean,
Yeah. We were munsoning pretty hardcore on that one. We sure were.
But I've definitely seen some of the talk turn to like, is he necessarily out for the season? Like, could he come back? Some of that stuff, and I know Seth Emerson wrote about that, and
Dude,
he was pointing
gone.
to like, well, so that's the thing, right? So there's
no way.
it's can he come back? Well, so the example he gave was Devon Wilson a few years back, with that he tore his ACL like in spring, and then was back for the bowl game, the following year's bowl game. Okay, so that's kind of that would be similar here. Now, there's extra questions though, right? So like, can he come back? And I mean, it's not out of the realm of the possibility, but it's still like, it's tough to do. Like, is it the same injury as what Wilson had? Like, I don't know the comparison there. But then there's like, will he want to? Right? I mean, like he has to keep going to class, be in school, all that, right? I mean, instead of just rehabbing, like I don't know. I mean, the guy's going to be an NFL draft pick in the next draft, regardless of which decision he makes. And he,
Right.
I know he did have like an Instagram post that was like just a black screen and it said bye. Now, who knows? Maybe that could be about something else, but
I missed this.
Yeah. He has it. Yeah. So he did that.
Elaborate.
So
request elaboration.
Right. Wait, do you want me to elaborate or you want him to elaborate?
I was just talking some WandaVision.
Great show. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I feel like the best way to proceed is just assume he's out, and then anything from there is gravy. But I'll segue into our first listener question. So, tweet out from the podcast account. Let's see, it's Monday night right now. On Sunday, it's asking for listener questions, and we got a ton back, and they're all really good. So I think we're going to be kind of a little fan friendly on this one, and hit all of our questions, and then when we're done with that, we'll see if we missed anything. So, from Bobby Wilson, which I don't have his @ handle, but I mean, he was the number one seed in the Twitter. It's at Bobby Wilson something like 1004 or something like that. He's a number one seed. Everyone knows Bobby Wilson, right?
Everybody knows Bobby. If you
So
don't know Bobby, just look for the steak photos.
right, exactly. So he had three. This was actually his second one. But are we as deep as we think we are with elite talent and wide receiver to be in great shape without Pickens at the beginning of the season? So I don't know about great shape, although I don't know. I mean, I guess that kind of gets back to what you were saying, right? Like what you saw from Graham, kind of there. I mean, I would say good shape. Um, and let's see, you mentioned Burton for sure. We talked about Kyrus Jackson, and then
I'm
Arian
sorry, Miss
Smith.
Jackson.
Exactly. Yeah. Doubt Kyrus at your own risk.
Down
You'll
Kieran
have
at your
to
own risk.
you have to apologize to his mom later. Uh, but so I would add Arian Smith in there, right? I think
Dude,
like
yeah.
so to me, those are kind of like the top three targets, I would say. And then you've got my next bucket. I've got Rosemary Jack Saint and Blaylock in great talent. We've seen both of them produce on the field, but both coming off of injury. So I don't know, how we can count on them. I mean, Rosemary Jack Saint, his
That's
ankle injury was pretty gruesome. Um,
yeah.
and then Blaylock, two ACL tears that he's coming back from. So I know they're both like running on the sideline at spring practice right now. Neither are cleared to play yet. So
Yeah.
I'd love to get one or both of them. That would be awesome.
Surely surely Blaylock will be back at some point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty much expecting them to be back. They're just not cleared yet. So I don't
Right.
expect to see them like at G Day or anything. But I would think that they're cleared during fall camp would be my guess. But I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure. Um, so then some kind of other buckets. So we got D Rob back for sixth year. Not sixth year at Georgia, but sixth year in college.
6 year in general, yeah. I mean, he's
Yeah,
gonna
so I
have to
mean,
step up.
yeah. So I
If
don't know.
ever if ever there was an opportunity for him, this would be the year.
Yeah, yeah. Um, a name that I keep hearing is Justin Robinson. Like people keep mentioning him, and I don't know if that's just because like he's tall, but he redshirted last year, was kind of dinged up. So I don't know, younger guy we haven't really gotten to see coming off injury. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people keep talking about him though because he's tall, like Pickens. But so I don't know. So I don't know. He's a guy that I do want to look for at G Day, and see what he can do. And
Is he
then
going to
just
be the G Day MVP?
yeah, good question.
Well, there's always that player that is constantly like just shows out in G
At
Day,
G
but
Day,
then like disappears in the season. It's like
right?
the
Yep,
curse of the G Day MVP.
right.
But
Yes,
I mean, he was a 4 star. He was a 4 star guy, so he comes pretty highly touted, top 50 in his position.
yep, yep. And then not receiver, but people who will catch the ball. We've got Darnell Washington, right, and then James Cook. Um, So I don't
Yep.
know. Across that, I think we have. I mean, we have the weapons. I mean, the offensive side of the ball we knew was loaded coming back, right? That's what everyone's been more excited about this year as opposed to last. It's kind of opposite. We've got everybody back on offense, at least at the skill positions. So, I mean, I don't know. I would obviously feel better with Pickens, but yeah, we are deep. So I think we'll be okay. But I would definitely feel a lot better.
Yeah,
Without any.
you would feel a lot better, but I mean, there's all sorts of new blood coming in. You got Adonai Mitchell. He's another 6'4" guy. I mean,
Mm, yeah,
he's coming in. He's going to be looking to make an impact. You got Jackson Meeks. He's 6'2", 205. I mean, he's a pretty big boy. I mean, that Justin Robinson fella, he's
yeah,
6'4", 220. I mean, you got all these new guys that are going to be looking for opportunities. And if Pickens is out, it just means that everybody else has just shifted upward, which means that, guys like, Jermaine Burton, Kyrus Jackson, like they're suddenly going to be more featured, which is going to open up opportunities. Uh, you know, the defenses are going to have to scheme to shut those guys down because they're the known quantity on the field. So they'll
Mm.
probably think that if I can shut down Burton out of the backfield or Burton on the reverse or Burton deep, or we can just cover Kieras in the slot or wherever he's lined up at, wherever he ends up lining up at, then they'll shade defenders their way until we prove that we have reliable sources elsewhere. And so that's where I think that some of these guys are going to get the opportunities. They're going to get the looks. They'll get the targets that they might otherwise, frankly, probably wouldn't have gotten had Pickens been around.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I know like Kirby in his press conference, one of his press availability after the injury, he was asked about this, and Pickens, we didn't have him every game last year, right? I mean, he missed several games last year,
That's true.
and he did point to the Florida game, like early on, right? We had some success in that game, really, until Bennett injured his shoulder, right? I mean, but up until that point, I mean, he was throwing the ball over the field to myriad receivers, and none of them being George Pickens. The other thing is too, like without Pickens, I also do wonder, like, are people going to be stacking the box because we're also just as deep, if not deeper, at tailback? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I know, like we're all loving what we've seen from JT Daniels and kind of want to sling the ball around, but I mean, we are still tailback and we've got a slew of running backs. We're still going to run the ball. So I'm kind of curious to see, and we'll find out quickly with Clemson, right? Like, what are they going to try to do, right? Are you going to stack the box and make us throw? And then if they do that, then I think you and I both trust Munkin to get those guys open. And I think we've got plenty of guys that can catch the ball considering who the quarterback is. Right? So
If we learned anything from this Georgia team is that regardless of who we have at the quarterback and their ability to throw the ball, we're still going to throw the ball.
You're right. True.
And we're going to throw it deep.
Yeah. Very true. All right, let's go next one. Also from Bobby. Will Kendall Milton emerge as the number one running back? What do you think?
Emerge might be a good phrase there. Might be an important distinction because I don't think that he's going to start out as the feature guy. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that you'd be crazy not to say that James Cook and Zamir White will get the lion's share of carries come day one. Now, obviously, he's coming back from injuries. Is he going to be, coming back 100%? Obviously, if he lines up the coaches and Ron Corson obviously believes that he's ready to go. So
Yeah.
we'll see. It'll be very similar, in my opinion, to watching how Nick Chubb came back from his knee injuries. So it took him a while to get back up to speed. It took him a while to really kind of recover from those ACL injuries, and that's one of those kind of injuries where it's like you really don't know until you start putting stress on it.
Well, what was
Zamir White. I mean, Zamir
yeah.
White. Look at what happened with him and how kind of. I mean, I hesitate to say this, but like how slow, his career has gone because of the injuries.
Right. I'm trying to remember what was Milton's injury. He came back
Wasn't
by the end
it?
of the year, right? I mean, he
Wasn't it
was
his
already
knee?
back. Yeah, but it was like he like it wasn't like I'm trying to remember, I just remember something I had said before where it's like I'm always amazed by how fast these guys come back considering like the one time I hurt my knee back in college. But like it was like a strain MCL. Yeah, he like sprained his MCL. So he didn't he didn't have a full tear. So he was back, he
He
played it in
played
the
it.
bowl game.
He played in the bowl game. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which
I mean
I mean, he had 4 carries, and
he wasn't heavily utilized in it. Yeah, for sure.
he had 4 carries, and he had like I think it was like 3 yards or something like that a carry.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think that he was. I don't think that he was back to the pre. He was basically averaging like 8-9 yards a carry or something like that.
Yeah.
In the games that he played in, but clearly he was on the rise, and I think that
Yeah.
he showed the opportunity or showed the potential for what he has in his arsenal, which I think we were all super excited about. Very
Yeah.
similar to Dejan Edwards and what his potential was. So again,
Yep.
I think that you'd be crazy to think that Zamir White wasn't going to continue to have that upward trajectory recovery. Like again, I think that it's taken him some time, but I think that he is hands down going to be the number one running back come day one, followed by James Cook.
Yep. I agree with you. I think
Especially with McIntosh going down, which we haven't talked about that, but I do
yeah,
not like those apples.
yeah. Nice. Yeah, what, dislocated elbow. But I mean, I would assume, I don't know. I guess I assume he'll be back by come
Yeah.
Clemson game. I would think, but yeah, definitely out for the spring. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I would say I could see it's interesting, right? I mean, I could see it being kind of like, I mean, 3 to 4 guys for sure, right? I mean, so Zamir White, Kendall Milton, James Cook, and
Mm-hmm.
McIntosh. I mean, to me, those are the top four. To me, I mean, we've seen Georgia use four tailbacks. I mean, we did it
Four
in what
tailbacks.
we
Yeah.
did it in 17, right? I mean, so in 17 you had Chubb and Michelle mainly, but then we had Swift in there, and then occasionally Harrion. Actually, or was it even Harrion? I mean, we had Harrion and Holyfield. God, we're so stacked. I mean, it's just like this year, though, right? I mean, it's similar. Okay, okay. Let's
Well,
see.
something
Yeah,
something to throw a wrench in that whole calculation and calculus was, what about does that put an end to the Lovasy Carroll? Um, does that put an end to that experiment with him going to cornerback with
corner.
McIntosh going down?
I mean, I would like to see that experiment carried out still, personally. Just because, again, I mean, we didn't even mention Dejan Edwards. We got him too. I mean, he looked good too. We were so
I
deep.
mentioned Dejan Edwards because I'm very excited about that kid. He reminds me of Nick Chubb, and I can't wait to see him continue to
Yeah,
mature. But
yeah,
but but continue.
but yeah. So yeah, no, I don't, I haven't heard that they switched him back to offense or anything during the spring. And then I guess it'll be a different story come the fall, right? We'll see what happens with him.
Kirby Smart has some success with pulling guys from running back positions to the defensive side of the ball. So
Yeah, yeah. You hit on this. This is Bobby's last one. You hit on this a little bit around
okay,
which freshmen will play early, and I want to give one nugget before we dive into who we think would play. If you have anyone, I know you mentioned a couple of guys already, but
are
this
we?
is interesting. In the 2020 season opener against Arkansas, we actually played 10 true freshmen in that game. And in the entire season, we had 16 true freshmen play last year. So
Are we saying true freshmen? Like when we're saying freshmen, we're talking about true freshmen, or are we talking about redshirt freshmen?
well, he said freshman. Was thinking true freshman, but I already I had kind of pre-answered, and I went the same way because one of my questions was does Keely Ringo count? Because he was here last
That
year. He's a
that
redshirt
was
freshman, but yeah, is that
that
why you
was
were asking?
going. That was why I was asking because he's going to be like. I mean, it's like cheating, right? Like you
Yeah,
figure he's definitely going to be the big guy that's going to come out as a freshman, quote unquote,
yeah,
playing. So
yeah. That was my one cheating, and then my other cheating answer was define early. Because like, does early mean they're going to play against Clemson, or does it mean like early in the season? Because we do have UAB week 2, and I fully expect to see Brock Vandegrift on the field at some point during the game against UAB. So I'll leave that out there. I don't know. I don't expect to see him out there against Clemson.
what was
But I,
his
yeah,
what was his exact question?
just which freshman will play early?
Okay. I guess that's still fairly. All right. Well, I was also going to say the other cheat code that I have is Amarius Mims.
I had him. Yeah, he was on my list. I mean,
I mean,
He is a true freshman,
he is a
right?
true freshman. He's
Okay.
also a 5-star offensive lineman. He's a 6'7". He's a monster of a human being. So
Yeah.
I think that we would be kidding ourselves if we didn't think that he was going to see some playing time as well. I mean, frankly, the way that they've been doing the offensive line the last several years is, I mean, basically, if you've got a heartbeat, they're going to rotate you in because they
Yep.
are we're recruiting at such a high level now. So there's not really a whole lot of drop off. I mean, you've got Micah Morris, who's a true freshman as well, was a 4-star guy.
Right. Yep. Yep.
I don't know how much he's going to be playing, but we've got a lot of talent coming through, obviously, because we've been, like I said, we've been recruiting at such a high level.
Yeah.
Looking through now that
Well,
he's asked that question,
I got a couple
go
of
go.
names. So yeah, so
Okay,
just because we lost all our corners, I
I
was,
was just about to
you
say the
know,
quarterback position.
so I just threw out like all the freshman DBs. Although I'm not even sure if these guys are all DBs versus safeties. But you got David Daniel, who ironically is wearing 14 and was like DJ Daniel was 14 last year. So like, hey, Daniel's out there again, but it's a different guy. That'll be interesting. And then Nyland Green and Kamari Lassiter. So I don't know. You could maybe see some of those guys in the secondary. And the other guys I jotted down were Smile. I don't even know how to say this guy's name. Is it Smale or Smile? It's Smael. And I tried to go check Scott Howard. They do not have Scott Howard pronouncing his name on GeorgiaDogs.com yet. So I'll update that once they ever do that.
How do
I
you
guess
spell
it'll
his name?
Smael Munden. I've heard people say smale, and I've heard it like smile, like you're smiling. Like I don't know, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, so we'll have to get to the bottom of that.
The Georgia Dogs does not have a pronounce this name.
So they do, but like not on the true freshman early enrollees yet. So like he's on the roster,
Ah,
but for a lot of guys, generally if you're reading it, and you're like, huh, how do you pronounce that? They have like a button on
yeah,
Georgia Dogs, and you can click it, and you can hear Scott Howard say their name, which is actually pretty cool. I
that
like
is
that.
pretty cool.
Yeah, so but they don't have the true freshman on there yet. So
Got it.
by fall camp, hopefully we can know whether it's Smale or Smile. um, and then Xavier Sorry. I don't know. So those are two like the highly touted linebacker guys that we got.
Xavier,
And
yeah.
again, like we rotate linebackers so much, and then like I fully expect those guys to get on in special teams. You know, I mean,
Oh,
whether it's
100%. Yeah.
kick coverage, punt coverage, all that kind of stuff. Like a lot of those guys will be on there. So okay.
Makes sense.
This one I think is pretty easy, or it is for me. See if you agree. So this came from Yankee Dog 70 at Greg Armona on Twitter. Who's looking like the number 2 quarterback?
Who's looking like that? That might be the question. The question of the entirety of the questions that we've gotten related to spring, because
Yeah,
that actually was one of those things that made me say, I mean,
yeah.
your money's got to be on the incumbents, right? I mean, you don't figure that Brock Vandegrift is going to be coming in as the like hands down number 2, do you? I mean,
Well,
I know that he's highly touted,
yeah.
but like we haven't seen him. I haven't really heard a whole lot coming from spring about him. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those questions that like we need to revisit after G Day, I think, for
That's
sure.
true.
But
Yeah.
so here's what I'll say. When we did our season review, or I don't know, one of the last times we talked, I don't remember when it was, but I did say that I expected Vandegrift to be number 2 this coming year. So I'll stick to that
I
just because I said it back then, but I will reserve final judgment until after G Day.
Well, the question was, who are we hearing, right? It was more of like a, what are we hearing
Mm-hmm.
coming out of spring, right? Like, I mean, I haven't really heard a whole lot. Have you?
I haven't. I saw some pictures that came out of practice today. I did know Vandegrift has he's got a huge brace on his
He's
knee.
got a brace. Yeah.
Yeah,
What was that
that's
all
huge.
about?
I don't know.
Which
I don't
and
now I'm like
Daniels didn't have a brace.
I don't think so. Or an awesome mustache. It wasn't that awesome. So if it's not, are you thinking Stetson then? If it's not Vandegrift, it's got to be Stetson, right?
It would have to be Stetson.
Yeah, that's what I would think. So Yeah, it's got to be Stetson. But I still think it'll be Vandegrift by the fall. But I want to see. I want to see. I want to see G Day.
Right.
All right. Let's see. Okay. So Fletcher Proctor at F Proctor on Twitter. This is offensive line themed.
Okay.
So he says Tate versus Broderick versus Austin versus the new guys Luke brought in this year. Which new name will see the most snaps on the offensive line?
Mims. Like new names in terms of like fresh meat, or are we talking just
So
new
between
names that we haven't heard?
yeah, so basically, like I would say, none of the guys that started in the Peach Bowl. I can't remember what bowl we played. None of the guys that started in the Peach Bowl. But yeah, so basically, he's saying like the new freshmen that came in this year versus the guys that redshirted last year. So Tate Ratledge, right, Broderick Jones, and Austin. Like between those guys versus a true freshman. Like those are kind of your options: the redshirt freshman or the true freshman.
I'll let you.
So
I'll let
like
you
Tate
answer
Ratledge,
this one.
so like you could say Tate Ratledge if you think, and that would be, that'd be correct. So my picks were Mims or Broderick Jones. Those are my guesses. Mims, like I mean, my only concern with Mims is like he played 2A classification. It's like double A ball. So I mean, I'm sure sometimes it's hard to tell there, but the guy is massive. And he was rated like the number one overall prospect in Georgia, I believe. So that's why I'm leaning him. Of the other guys, I'll take Broderick Jones. Those are the ones those are my guesses.
Do we? So, I mean, forgive. I'm flustered at this point. Like, what are their positions? Are they center? They guards? Are they tackles?
Oh man, let's see.
Because I do think that
So
that's going to ultimately matter on what the correct answer, I believe, is going to be. Because I think that you're going to have more of an opportunity at guard as opposed to tackle. You know what I mean?
mhm. So I know, like, I mean, it's hard to say with some of these guys because I mean we move people around so much, and
Right.
then like we're also talking like in some cases high school versus nothing or minimal experience in college. So like for example, like Radledge was a tackle in high school.
Right.
He did play like when he got in last year. He played right guard. Um, so I but like who knows, right? Um, I don't think any of
Right.
those guys are playing center. Like again, Mims. I would assume Mims is tackle. I mean,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
6'7", flip, um, and was tackle in high school. So I would assume he'd be a tackle.
So I don't know that we're necessarily going to see the guys that are like that are projecting to be true tackles to be playing tackle.
Hmm,
That's just my gut. That's just my
yeah,
gut feeling.
yeah, that's fair.
Um, so I think Ratledge. I mean, Ratledge, in my opinion, would have been the guess that like off the cuff because he's been in the program. He's been around for a while. I think that he's due for snaps and time kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mims was a tackle. Uh yeah, I mean, I think that Ratledge is probably one of the guys that's probably going to be getting a lot of looks.
All right, I'm gonna switch. I mean, shocking that we would agree, but your point about tackle versus
Mm-hmm.
guard. I mean, so like, and I did. Yeah, Jones did play tackle last year when he was in. I'll stick to that. I'm gonna stick to Jones, but I would say probably like Ratledge or Jones there.
I believe that's what they call hedging their bets.
Well, I had already given two, so yeah, one of
Yeah.
those guys.
All
So
right. All right.
okay,
But it is nice. It is nice that we are talking through all these offensive linemen,
oh yeah,
because I will say that one of the things, obviously we're jumping a little bit ahead, but like all the smoke that's been going with the
Mhm.
recruiting class that we were putting together for next year, which
Yeah.
looks to be absolutely phenomenal. I don't see any offensive linemen on that list right now. So I'm really hoping that these freshmen pan out.
I saw you tweeted that to, I think, John Tweet Sports, because he was talking about how good the class looked, and you were like, needs more linemen or something like that.
Yeah, needs more linemen.
uh, I will say, like, it is. I mean, we do have, so because of the early exits we had, the opt outs for the bowl game, like everyone who started on the line in the Peach Bowl is back. So that was, as a reminder. So we had Truss at left tackle, Salyer at left guard, Erickson at center, Schaefer at right guard, and McClendon at right tackle. So those five,
Yeah.
they're all back. So I mean, I don't know. Again, it'll be interesting to see how they split. I haven't seen yet like how they're splitting up the teams for G Day yet or anything. Like if they're doing, sometimes they do it kind of like ones versus twos, and like one team is basically the number one offense and number two defense, and then vice versa. Sometimes they do it like that. Sometimes they more like pick players to make it more like even. I don't know. We'll see what they do this year. I feel like Kirby's been more kind of ones versus twos. Um, so that you
We'll
see,
see.
sorry, so meaning that you see like number one offense versus number one defense, and then two versus two.
Exactly. Yeah,
Um,
which makes
but so
sense
we'll
in my
see.
opinion.
Yeah, so we'll see if that's how they do it or not. But it'll be interesting again to see kind of who trots out there, right? To see if they
Yeah.
keep that five together, even just for G Day would be interesting to see if it's that versus someone else. So
There's a lot of talk and discussion about like, what are we going to do in the secondary and all that kind of stuff, which I'll be honest, like I'm not super concerned about the secondary because I feel like we have enough athletes out there. It's very similar. It's a very similar problem to the wide receiver problem. We've just got a lot of guys that are talented that just haven't had a whole lot of opportunities because of the guys that are in front of them. And on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the secondary, I mean, we're talking about Kirby Smart, man. Like develops the guy develops defensive backs. So like, I
yeah,
mean, he was a defensive back. So I'm not as concerned with the defensive side of the ball. I'm actually more concerned with the offensive side of the ball because as we saw last year, it doesn't matter how good we are on defense. If we can't keep up on offense in this day and age and in this SEC, we're screwed. So, in my opinion, what we need is a more consistent offensive line that is able to protect the quarterback, get yards on the ground, create holes for the running backs, the talented running backs that we have, give our quarterback time and receivers time to get open. So, in my opinion, the offensive line just needs to be. If we can have a consistent offensive line like we did during the periods of time when we had, when Stetson was able to sit back there for what seemed like forever, only to overthrow wide open wide receivers. You know
right.
what I mean? So if we can get someone that can get that kind of time consistently, we're gonna be very, very dangerous.
It's interesting you say that. I mean, because I'm kind of so all right. So like, I did feel like that while that starting five on the offensive line from the Peach Bowl was coming back, it wasn't our best game on the offensive line, and I mean that shouldn't really
No,
be right. But it shouldn't be a shock, right? Considering we didn't have Cleveland and we didn't have Hill, right? Um, so yeah, I guess like I mean, on offense, as far as like position groups, I would say that's probably. I mean, it's safe to say that's the biggest concern. Not that I'm like overly concerned about it, but I think offensive line is probably the biggest concern out of any of the position groups that we've got coming back. Um,
it's a concern only in a sense that we have so many guys that are so highly regarded, four and 5 star guys, which you and I grew up in the day and age when if we got a 5 star recruit, like that was a huge deal. That
yeah,
was a
yeah,
huge deal when we got a 5 star guy on the offensive line during the Richt years. And, we had the guys that were successful were coached up by Neil Callaway. When Neil Callaway left, we were screwed on the offensive line. And frankly,
yeah.
in my opinion, that was the undoing of Richt when Neil Callaway left. Basically, it was all going to catch up to him eventually because the offensive line recruiting was so abysmal after that point.
I feel like
Um,
you and me and my dad are the only people that feel that way, by the way, but carry on.
yes. So respect, Lou. uh, um, yeah, dude. it all comes down to the trenches. These games are won in the trenches. That's something that Saban has been very good at doing the last the last decade or so that he's been doing this. Um, he recruits these brawlers on the offensive line. So when Kirby came over, shocker, that's exactly what he did. He got these, so he gets these brawlers on the offensive line, and that's shocker. That's exactly what Kirby Smart did when he first came. He got brawlers on the offensive line. He got a awesome offensive line coach. We've replaced that offensive line coach with a allegedly even just as awesome offensive line coach,
Yeah.
and you know here we are.
Yeah.
We're a little bit inconsistent, it feels like. Obviously we're getting the performances, but like, wouldn't you as a fan, and wouldn't you as someone watching these games, feel a lot more confident if our quarterback that was subject to knee injury was not going down with in a heap?
Yeah, that's true. The thing for me with the defense, though, like, I mean, the secondary is of concern to me. But I mean, I'm assuming like Amir Speed will probably be one of the corners, and then from there we'll kind of see. I mean, like, I threw out Keely Ringo. I mean, I'm kind of thinking he'll be the other one. We'll see. Um, and then one thing I did want to bring up was that guy that's transferring from West Virginia. Although I looked into it a little bit more today because I've seen a lot of people talking about this, right? So
Tyke.
Tyke Smith, like, I think he was like a third team All American or something this year. But everyone's thinking, oh well, Jamal Adai is our new DB's coach. He was West Virginia, so clearly he'll come with them. But I know we
Right.
already missed out on the first guy that we all thought that was going to happen with, right? So like Dreshad Miller, corner from West Virginia, is transferring to Auburn. The other thing is, like, Tyke Smith is a safety. Like, so I don't know. I mean, I'm not worried about safety. I mean, between we got Seed back and then we got Christopher Smith back. I know we talked about Christopher Smith a lot last year about what a great job he did when LeCount went down. So, and I know you mentioned Graham's thread about feeling okay without Pickens. I know he's been talking about Smith a lot lately as well, and just has a lot of good things to say about Smith. So I don't know. So for me, I'm not super worried about safety. I did not realize. I mean, I'm not a student of West Virginia in the roster, so I didn't realize that Tyke Smith was a safety. I was kind of hoping, like, yeah, man, he comes in and he can be kind of like a Maurice Smith impact, like we had in 16, right? And in Kirby's first year, Maurice Smith transferred from Alabama. Was like, I mean, I kind of felt like he was like our best player on defense that year.
I mean, he certainly was an impact.
Yeah. So I mean, and so I mean, maybe he could. I mean, I don't know. I don't know I don't know much about the guy other than it sounds like he's really good.
Listen, if he's an All-American, then he's going to push those guys to be better. So
Right.
by my count, like, we need to be making the team better. And if he makes the team better, and Kirby feels like he makes the team better, then and he wants to come, I mean, shoot, as long as he doesn't go to flipping Auburn, that's going to tick me off if we lose another guy to second choice university.
That's awesome.
Or he goes to flipping Florida and helps Todd Grantham look better. Like, although, all these guys go down there and they they don't really produce much.
Well, all right, total tangent, but like, I know. Oh shoot! Well, I can't remember where I read or heard this. I'll still say it. So credit to whoever I heard this from. I'm going to say it was Seth Emerson. I think it was Seth Emerson, but it was around. This is the worst tangent because I can't remember who I'm talking about. Brenton Cox. So it was around, like, Brenton Cox.
Yeah.
Like, he leaves Georgia to get more playing time and goes to Florida, and so he does get way more playing time. But then, like, he gets tired, right? Like, he started off pretty hot and then kind of trailed off, and I mean, he was getting worn down in games. And I think it was David Pollack that said that in a Seth Emerson column. No, I think that's where I saw that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, That stuff's not always all it's cracked up to be. But anyway, okay, we got two more questions, and I'll let you pick where we want to go first. Although one is Hunter's question, which you said could maybe be an entire episode.
let's do Hunter. Let's do Hunter.
Okay, so Hunter Jones, you can follow him on Twitter at HuntTheJones. This a 3-part question, but part 1 has A and B. 1A, will we see more than 2 uniform combinations this year? So, meaning, if you think about it, you'll see at least 2 with red jerseys and silver breeches at home and white jerseys and silver breeches on the road. That's the standard. Will we see anything more than that?
Yes.
Okay. I want it to be yes. I'm not sure that we will, but I'm going to say yes because I want to be yes. So, if so, 1B, what will it be? What will the alternate uniform be?
It'll be black jerseys.
Ooh. Okay. So that's going to have to be at a home game, I would assume? Yeah, it's got to be.
Does it? Does it gotta be? Or?
Well, actually, it doesn't have to be. So the other one I could think of
against Auburn, I thought.
Well, yeah, but at home.
Yeah. Oh well.
But we could wear them at Georgia Tech because they wear white at home.
That's true.
So that'd be an option. I'm going to go with red pants, and again, I'm answering this on what I want because we play at Tennessee this year, and in my perfect world, Georgia wears red pants at Tennessee always. So that's my answer.
Interesting. I think that do you think that there's a higher likelihood of red pants or black jerseys?
No, black jerseys. So I think I do think there's a higher probability that there will be black jerseys than there is of red pants. I do agree with that. This is me wishful thinking. I've decided to answer this of what I want.
Okay.
That is what I want. I don't know if you have any opinion on this at all. Question 2 from Hunter. Why do people hate Bulldog Bold so much? Do you know what Bulldog Bold is, John?
Isn't that like when we switch to like the funnier looking letters? Like
yes.
Kind of more
now,
like.
I will show you. This is an audio medium, but I will show to you. See, my pint glass that I'm drinking my beer out of right now is a Georgia pint glass. And you can see the lettering on this actually is Bulldog Bold.
That's the Bulldog Georgia. Bold. Yeah.
So it's a font, right? So it's the font that
the font.
Yeah. So I'll say I didn't hate it when it came out. I actually really liked it when I first saw it. Because it was like something new and different, and so I liked it. But now, like, it's kind of the newness has worn off to me, so I don't feel like it's something that should always be there. It's something that was trying to be new and different, and it's no longer new and different, and so now I feel like there's no point to it anymore. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I never liked it. I didn't think that it was something that we should change. I think that the fonts that we have for the official uniforms and stuff, I think that those should basically be set in stone.
Well, that's the thing, is it is the official font on if you look at any sport, that's the font on there. And
no, I meant like the font that we had previously should have been set in stone.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, no, I like the block letters. I think that it's a classic look. I think it looks better. I never was a huge fan of the Bulldog Bold, but what I will say is that God bless you, Hunter, but I did not realize that Uniform Georgia Twitter was as deep or deeper than Bourbon Twitter.
Dude, if Hunter tags you in a tweet with a uniform question, you're going to be getting notifications all day long, and I'm okay with that.
I'm here for it. But I don't understand why people get so emotional about the uniform font. But
it is funny. It is funny.
What I will say is that I think that if I were the person making the decisions, is that what my biggest takeaway from that whole experience of being tagged on the uniform Twitters was that there should be this is the way that it is. Welcome to
Yeah,
Georgia football. We wear red pants when we travel to Tennessee. We wear black jerseys when we travel to Atlanta. We whatever it is, like come up with something, set it in stone, and run with it. Um,
I agree
I think
100%.
that
I
I
think
think
that
that there
trying
should
to
just
make things a
be.
surprise is what messes it all up because Kirby's like, I think Kirby feels like, oh, this is so stupid. Like, this is taking away. And I was like, you can get rid of that by just saying, before the season even starts, these are the uniforms we're going to wear on these games. And then it's all
the
over. You don't have to worry about it.
it becomes basically completely moot, like, and
Yeah.
frankly it actually, in my opinion, enhances all of the things that we all love about college football, and that is tradition. Like,
Yeah.
this is the tradition that we do. Georgia is playing Tennessee on the road. By God, you better expect that there's going to be red pants on the road.
Yeah.
um, Georgia's playing Auburn at home. By God, the black jerseys are coming out, and we're
Yep.
all gonna enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep. No, I
just
totally agree.
just cut through the BS.
Yep. No, I agree. Okay. This one, I don't, I could spend an entire episode on the next one. And so this is like, you need a round table with like Hunter and Chase Kelly of 7-6 Apparel to do this one. But although although waiting since last Saturday kind of did that last season. But anyways, okay. What does the perfect modern Georgia football uniform look like? Is question 3. And I will add, John Tweets Sports came in and added 3B and said, and why does the perfect modern uniform have black letters? which, which, which you already said.
we've already answered the block letters. I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I'm not a huge fan. The other thing is that there are two types of people in this world. There are people that love the collar, and there are people that hate the collar.
Yeah.
Um, I am of the opinion that the collar takes away from the entire uniform altogether. That's my position. There's no
Yep.
convincing me otherwise. I don't hate it to the point where it's like I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot stand it. But, if I'm given a choice, then it's no collar.
I agree.
The ultimate UGA uniform to me is the, silver breeches, red pants. I saw someone mention something about the striping or something like that. The striping being back. I guess I'm dense. I'm too dense to realize that there was a change in that regard. But, um, you know, silver breeches, red pants, red G. Let's roll.
Yeah. I mean, to me, you leave the helmet. You leave the helmet. You do you do the block numbers and font on your names. You have the silver breeches at home with a red jersey, and except for Auburn with the black jersey, no dog collar, and then red pants and white jersey at Tennessee. So I don't know. That's it for me. I agree. No dog collar. We need Hunter to like mock it up because he can draw
We
these
need
things.
Hunter to mock it up. The, uh, I mean, if you had to pick one, like that's the quintessential UGA uniform, right? Like silver
Yeah.
breeches, red, right?
Yep.
But when
Yeah.
they introduced the black jerseys, like, that's a sharp looking uniform, man.
It is, and
Like,
we are the red and black. So
I
black is one of
know,
our
yeah.
colors. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's awesome. And again, my big thing, I think the biggest issue is that we make too big of a deal about it. You can never, what happened in 2007 against Auburn, where it was a surprise, that's a one time thing. You could never pull that off again. We should stop trying to recreate that. You can't recreate that. It was awesome. I was there, but it can't be duplicated. So now it's just part of the rotation, and you announce it ahead of time. So, okay, we can end the uniform, talk on that, I think. So, our final question comes in from my dad. You can follow my dad on Twitter at FripDog. Question 1. What are top 5 bourbons for John and top 5 beers for Jim?
I'll
Can
let
you
you
go
shoot
5
with the
deep on your
beers.
bourbons? You want me to go?
I'll let you go. I'll let you shoot. I'll let you shoot for the beers first. We'll let you answer this one first.
All right, I didn't write this down ahead of time. So, I'm going to go. Okay, I'm going to go. Then this is in no particular order. This is not ranked top 5. I can't do that right now.
I can't do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But so I'm gonna go Fat Tire from New Belgium. That was like the beer that got me into craft beer. So I'll say that.
It's a good
So,
choice.
so that's in my top 5. Tropicalia from Creature Comforts, also my top 5. I mean, Thor drinks it. Obviously, it's amazing. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go right now. My favorite beer right now, and this is what I was drinking during the show. So this is another New Belgium, which I love New Belgium. So this is called Wild Ride. It
Ooh.
is an amber IPA. So the best way I can explain it is it's kind of like a cross between Fat Tire, which is their amber ale, and like a Voodoo Ranger, which is their IPA. So it is excellent.
Hmm.
So I don't know, that's maybe a recency bias, but I'll say that. Then I'm going to go, I mean, shocking, back to Creature Comforts, Automatic, their pale ale, excellent beer. Then I got to go to another brewery just because I keep doing those. I'm going to say I'll go with a lighter beer because sometimes you need something that isn't like, 7% IPA or whatever. So I'm going to go with the Lagunitas Daytime IPA. So it's like a low ABV session beer that's great for the beach. So I'll go with this.
Those are excellent selections. Um, for me, I feel like this was an unfair question for me because I'm fairly new to the bourbon scene. John
Mm.
Tweets, Bobby, Kurt, those guys could probably weigh in with a little bit more expertise. But where I sit, the bourbons that I've enjoyed in the short period of time, they're bottles that I've deemed purchasable. Where I sought out and got them. Okay, so you got Weller Special Reserve, which is a pretty, it's pretty unique, but like you can't find it very easily in a lot of places. If you ask Hunter, he can't get it in Mississippi. I've got to buy it for him here in Atlanta. Between me and John, we've got to help him get his hands on Weller. So Weller Special Reserve, and again, these are not ranked by any means. Another one that I like is Old Grandad 114, is another fantastic bourbon. And I will also add that part of my caveat with this is that these are bourbons that I feel like that are very, like, obviously I could throw out a $5,000 bottle or something like that. But like, number
Right.
one, I haven't had those yet. And number two, like the average person is probably not going to drop $5,000 on a 23-year-old, whatever, bourbon. Um, but yeah, Weller Special Reserve, Old Grandad 114. I also have Weller 12 is a fantastic bourbon as well. Um, that's one that's not going to break the bank too badly, depending on where you buy it. Um, the other bourbons that I've really enjoyed are the Weller 107 and Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond is another one that is excellent.
I have no idea what you just talked about, but Bourbon Dog Twitter love that segment. I have not gotten into the bourbon. And then, like, I
If
know the other day I sent you a picture of a glass of bourbon, like to trick you, and it was my friend's glass. You were like all excited, like, oh, you're getting into it. I was like, that's my buddy's.
I mean, lately,
Uh,
probably starting around like the November, October time period, that's probably when I started first getting into this. It was probably November. Whenever we do the recording, I usually have a bourbon.
yeah.
Um, bourbon. I'm a on the rocks guy, which I know is going to probably infuriate many people out there on the bourbon Twitters, but um, I enjoy ice and cold beverages, not warm
Well,
beverages.
and as we know, as this question came from my dad, I got a text from my mom tonight that I already forwarded to you with a picture of their clear ice that they made using your recipe and your instructions, and she just had to have me show you. So that was fun. That was fun. Okay,
I am currently drinking a bourbon with the clear ice. I don't know if you can see it.
awesome. All right, I'm going to add. This is a yes or no question. Will we be at full attendance? Will we be at full attendance capacity for fall?
Yes.
Yes, I agree. Um, and I'm really hoping that that's true for the first game in Charlotte? Because I know that's a little bit of a different question because it's not Sanford Stadium. But as someone who was here in Charlotte, I'm hopeful
How's
this is
the
going to be
how's the
there.
vaccine penetration rate in North Carolina? Is it as terrible as it is in Georgia?
I don't even know. I'll tell you, my wife has already had it. She's already had both shots. Um, and as of, let's see, I think I'm eligible as of the 31st, and then they're opening up to everyone in the state on April 7th. So we're not open fully like Georgia is yet. It's not like anyone can make an appointment yet. We're a little bit over a week out, but I think the expectation though is that basically like if you anyone that wants it should be able to get it by end of May. It is kind of what they're forecasting in North Carolina.
It looks like
Um,
that as of the end of January, you guys were ranked number 6 in the nation in total doses of the vaccine. So you got that going for you,
Boom.
which is nice.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, got two more from my dad. Okay, will someone beat Adam Anderson in total sacks for the season?
Mm, that is an interesting question. However, the fact that he's kind of stepping into the Ojolari kind of mold,
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost, yeah. I
I
mean,
think I think no. I'll give you the person who I think who could come like. I think the answer is no, but I'd say Nolan Smith is going to be closest to him. Is my guess, but
mm, I'll give you another one.
okay.
Wait, was the question total sacks or
Yeah,
positional
sacks.
sacks? Okay, just
No,
sacks
just total
overall.
sacks. Total sacks for the season.
Okay. How about Trayvon Walker
Could be. Could be. We'll put him in the running. All right. I'm not going
or
to write this
Jalen
down.
Carter?
We'll have to. Yeah, could be. Although, I mean, we got to keep him fresh for that jumbo package. You know, he's also the fullback, so
we
we got
need
to
we need
got to keep that in mind.
we need him to punch it in from the one.
Right, right. And then last question for my dad. This was directly for me. Do you want me to leave the light on at Fripp? Uh, Dad,
Oh,
I think I'm gonna get there during the daytime, so I don't think you have to. I think it's okay. So
dang!
we're.
I thought that was like an open invitation for me.
I'm actually going there on Friday, so that's where we're going.
Okay,
That's where we're going for spring break, and he's there right now. So they're gonna clear out and leave room for us. So
fun times.
yeah, yeah. Listen, when is your spring break? Is it also next week? Or did you
It's
guys?
April. Is that April 5th? Shoot, what's the date today?
Yes, it is. That's the Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, April 5th. So we're actually heading to Chattanooga at the
Oh,
end of the
nice.
week. We're
Okay.
going to do a little quick getaway to Chattanooga and hang out up there. Some friends of ours got us a friends and family rate for the Marriott up there.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Since we've been fan family, I'm going to ask you one last question,
Okay.
and it's related to. Well, first I want to get a confirmation on something, and then ask a question. I believe you're going to G Day. Is that correct?
I have acquired tickets from Miserable in Minnesota,
Yes.
and I am slated to go to G Day. I believe that my neighbor across the street from me and his wife we're gonna do it up. He's talked about getting he's got access to like a party bus at his
Mm,
work.
okay.
So that's potentially on the cards for us. But I'm definitely going with my wife, sans
Excellent.
kids, to the G Day game.
Excellent. Okay. I had seen that interaction with friend of the show Tim Riley, aka Miserable in Minnesota, on Facebook. So I thought that was the case. Um, so is there anything that we haven't already talked about that you're going to be looking for at the G Day game?
I'm going to be looking for hopefully a little bit of laxness on the tailgating situation, because that frankly has always historically been like the big thing for me and my family, is that we get to
Mm,
go there. There's not a whole lot of people typically for G Day, so it's not like a
Yeah.
typical game day anyway.
Right.
So going to North Campus, walking around with an adult beverage, some brown water that when you drink it makes you
Just
feel
put it in a
different.
red cup. Put it in a red cup.
Yeah, exactly. So at the bare minimum, I know I'm gonna have a good time, but like I would love
Yeah.
to see like people playing cornhole on North Campus, that kind of thing.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
But that's what
I
I'm
don't know.
looking for.
Yeah,
But
I haven't seen. Yeah.
as far as the game goes, I think that we all know that Daniels is going to be the starter. The biggest thing that I'm looking for is a couple. I mean, I'm sitting here like racking my brain on other options, but like the two things that I'm looking for are: is Keely Ringo as
Mm.
advertised?
Okay. That's a good
Is
one.
Brock Vandegrift as advertised? Those are
Yep.
two things that I'm looking for.
Okay. Shocking we have agreement in areas. So I had Rock Vandegrift written down. I had more general, just like the secondary, but I'll agree. Keely Ringo definitely someone I want to see, and just receivers. How do we look without Pickens there? I want to see. I want to look at JT Daniels' mechanics and see is he still doing the hiya kick when he throws. I'd like to see him
Well,
remove the hiya kick because I feel like he
we
doesn't step in properly.
we touched on it earlier, but I don't feel like we talked about it enough. But like in those pictures today that literally came out today from
Mm-hmm.
uh, the guys that were posting photos from the quarterbacks, but like Brock had a knee brace on, and
Yeah,
JT Daniels did not have a knee brace on at all. So
but was
like
he doing a karate kick while throwing? I don't think he was.
WTF, was the knee brace causing the karate kick? Question mark.
Well, the knee brace had come on. Well, he didn't play the knee brace, did he? By the end, at least.
I'm pretty
I don't
sure he
know.
did.
Yeah, it was just the yeah thing was weird. I feel like he's like not. He wasn't stepping into the ball correctly. So I don't know. So I'll watch for that. And then above all of that, I just want to see an injury-free game. So
Oh, goodness gracious. We talked about all these freshmen. Like can the knock on your head, Jim.
knocked on wood, knocked on my head.
Knocked on wood. All right.
So yeah, so that's what I would like to see. And so it's funny, like you did say, we all know JT is the starter. Interestingly enough, Kirby actually named him the starter. I did it,
Did
he
he
doesn't
really?
usually,
I didn't see
yeah,
that.
he did, which he usually does not do that. He usually always is like, we compete every week and whatever, all that kind of stuff. He actually said JT Daniels is our starter, so I thought that was interesting.
When was this?
It was like, well, I don't know, it was within the past week.
I imagine Jamie Newman is listening to that and being like, curses.
Yeah, why would you name me the starter?
Why didn't you do that to me?
Uh,
We're digging up old wounds.
yeah. We've moved on. We've moved on from that. I need to discuss that. All right, man. Well, that's all I got. You got anything else?
Do we think we're done? Do we think we're done with coaching moves?
Coaching moves.
Like
Yeah, with our
coaches
coaches.
leaving, potentially getting new jobs, that kind of thing.
Not for. I would say. I think we're done with that for this season.
Think so?
Well, so what are we worried about? Like, did Kansas name a new coach yet?
Hey man, there's no telling in the SEC.
Well,
You've got
Kansas.
some scandal could drop, and someone
Well,
has
I
to get
mean,
let go, and
well, that's what happened with Kansas, right? I mean, they let Les Miles go.
they let last miles go.
Over a bunch of stuff that happened at LSU. So I honestly don't even know if they filled that position. But I mean, no, I don't expect any more coaching turnover this season. Not even in our basketball program. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Uh,
I found the statement that you were talking about Kirby Smart. I was very curious because I thought it was out of character.
yeah,
Apparently, he was on Chuck and Chernoff and said it's JT's job.
it was on Chuck and Chernoff. I did not realize that. Interesting.
On 680 The Fan.
Yeah. I'm familiar. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
real Matt Lana.
So the quote was, "It's JT's job." Period. He's played the
Nice.
position. He's really on top of it. He's doing a good job in our offense, but that's not to say that we're not giving the other guys a look. Okay.
I mean, that's the closest
But
you're
you
ever going to
literally
get him this
said
good.
it's JT's job.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it is, but he still doesn't ever say that, you know.
I
So
know, right?
I just found that interesting. I think it's good personally. Like, I don't see why you feel the need to not say that. So I don't know, but I did think it was interesting. I don't know. Again, like, we forget that, all these, like, oh, Kirby, like, trying to compare, like, Kirby at Georgia to Saban at Alabama and all that stuff is, like, which is just so stupid, because, like, Saban had been a head coach at went like three colleges plus an NFL team before he got the Alabama job, and, like, Kirby, this is his, he had never been a head coach until he was Georgia's head coach, so he's still learning. So, and I think that goes all over the place, right? Program management, recruiting, coaching, hiring coaches, how to deal with the media, everything. So I don't know. I think we'll continue to see him grow as a coach. And I don't know. That was one of those things that I was pleased to see that he said that, and he didn't feel the need to hide that.
Do you, do you
Like,
think
whatever.
do you think that he learned from last season's preseason?
Right. I mean, could be, right. Could be.
he recognized the need to name the starter before the season started.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
it's like,
he basically gushed. He basically gushed about him. For all intents and purposes, this is the Kirby Smart version of gushing over your quarterback. He
yeah,
says he brings about the best assets we have in our offense, which are some of the wideouts and some of the skill position guys. We've got to be able to use his strengths to get them the ball, which means that we're going to sling the hell out of the ball this season. Is my takeaway.
well, I mean, like you said, I mean, we tried doing that last year too. I mean, again, but and with success once he was there, but we were trying
Once
to
he
do it
was
all year.
there.
Yeah, yeah,
And by the
yeah.
way, how have we gone? I feel like that we would be criminal to not even mention this in the preseason episode, pre-spring or whatever. Darnell Washington.
Well, we mentioned him. I mentioned him.
You mentioned
Yeah,
him. I didn't hear
yeah.
it.
I mean, well,
Sorry.
yeah. So I mentioned him
Oh, you did mention him. The
in
people that
Bobby's
catch the
question,
ball.
right? Yeah. When Bobby was saying, like, is our receiving core so deep, right, to feel okay about losing
Right.
Pickens? And I added in, I did also say James Cook, right, as far as catching the ball. So James Cook in Washington. So yeah, I mean, I will say too, like, I mean, Darnell Washington. Uh,
Do you think that he's like a Kyle Pitts type mix mismatch?
I mean, like, size and skill. I'll say this: like, he's similar. I mean, he's bigger, right? I mean, he's taller than Kyle Pitts, if I'm
Right.
not mistaken. Um, I'm not saying that I expect him to have a. I don't expect him to have a Kyle Pitts type season, just because. I mean, I think we have more receivers than they had. Actually, like, we're going to spread it around more, and sometimes our tight ends don't exist. So, like, we'll see. How but I definitely expect him to be more utilized. And again, like last year, we had McKitty, who was grad transfer, had a lot of experience, in front of him, and McKitty's gone. So again, just like you were saying, with when Pickens isn't there, that means more opportunities for other guys. I mean, that's definitely, I would say, that can be the case for Washington this year, right? With the exit of Trey McKitty, I expect that to go to Washington. So I mean, I'm expecting a pretty big jump for him in year two.
Yeah, I agree. I really hope that we utilize. I really hope that we utilize him more in the offense.
Yeah, for sure. Cool, man. All righty. Well, it was good to talk again. We
Good to get
got
back in the
through.
swing of things. I feel like we're in
Yeah,
spring practice. Podcast
right.
spring practice.
Well, yeah. I mean, we gotta try new things, right? just like the team. This is spring. You're knocking the rust off. You're kind of getting ready for the fall. So
I
we're
can't
doing
tell
the
you
same
how
thing.
many people have asked me, like, "Are you still recording? Like, are you guys when are we going to record? When are we going to record?"
Hey, that's good. That's good. Well, that's
My
good that people are
daughter, my
asking.
daughter asked me today. My daughter asked me today, "Are you still recording the podcast?"
We're like, it's the off season. It's the off
It's off
season.
season. We were on a break.
I don't know why I just laughed so hard at that. That was awesome.
Only a
Well,
select
okay.
few will get that reference.
So, right, right. We'll probably also be called old by some because we think it's so funny. But anyway, um, we'll get back together again post G Day for sure, right? And I think we can do a G Day kind of recap and spring closeout. So I think to answer those types of questions is when we would get back together again. I think safe to say we'll do that, and then we'll kind of go from there and see if there's anything newsworthy or whatnot. We can obviously put out some more content before we get into fall camp and such. So
Absolutely.
cool. All right, man. Well, as always, great to talk to you, and enjoy G Day. Have fun since you'll be there in person, and go Dogs.
I will report back. Go Dogs.